host, Vivett Dukes at NPU Live presents Speak Your Truth with none other than yours truly. This is our second show, super excited. We launched this week on Monday. And so I just want to continue to shout out my guests from last week who were just so engaging and really just teaching us about what it is to speak your truth. What does that mean? Because there are so many of us who are experiencing life in so many ways. And really a premise of this show is that part of the issue with our communication with one another is that we're not having it. We're not having difficult conversations. We're also not the framers of our own narratives. And, by that, I mean, are we the ones telling our own stories, or are other people without the experience, other people who really are not fully informed, the ones telling our stories, whether it's our collective stories, our familial stories, our personal stories. So tonight, as a part of this episode, we are going to be speaking with two really wonderful young ladies who, one, I've known her entire life. The other one, we just recently met. And it's just so invigorating. For those of you who don't know me, I am, as you see in the back, a teacher, a writer, a blogger, activist, amongst other things. But definitely this remote teaching has really taken a toll on me, and I miss young people so much. I miss being around them. I miss their energy, their pizzazz, their flair. And I've been really intentional about making sure that with all of the attention being paid to the coronavirus pandemic, to COVID-19, that we have the voices of all different groups, cross sections of people, informing us as to how it is impacting them, particularly our young people, our young adults, our tweens, our teenagers, our young adults. What is going on with them in this time? So I'd like to start off, as we probe into that a little bit more deeply tonight. I'm actually going to introduce both guests at one time. We're just going to have a dialogue tonight. Our first guest is Sarita Newton. And when I asked Sarita what she'd like me to say about introduce her, well, hello, darling. Sarita said to me, well, my name is Sarita Newton. I was born and raised in New York, and I aspire to be a preschool teacher. Hello, Sarita. How are you?
I'm great.
Good. I noticed you didn't mention it in your bio, but Sarita is also my youngest daughter. Hey,
yes.
You.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
Yes, you are. And now we have our next guest, who is none other than Stephanie Cruz. When I asked her, Stephanie, hi, what would you like me to say about you, to introduce you? She said, I'm a 26-year-old Puerto Rican woman who just got accepted to St. Joseph's College for double majors. Stephanie hopes to write legislation to protect mental health for students someday. You both are speaking my language. Teachers, legislation, mental health. Yes, snap that. Yes. So, Sarita, I'm going to start with you. Could you tell us a little bit in terms of your profession, your schooling, what you...
Sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so right now I'm a direct support professional, and I work in group homes with people from many ages, many backgrounds, who just need help. They're people who need help. They can't really survive in this world without advocates and people to literally just take care of them in their day-to-day work. Right now, as far as schooling, I attend Suffolk County Community College, and I'm studying education. And yeah, I hope to graduate or transfer, and I want to stay on the island and just continue just learning and growing and becoming excellent.
Wow, wonderful.
Yes.
And Stephanie, you shared a little bit with us, but do you want to tell us a little bit more specifically about your passion for mental health? Is that something you and Sarita share?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I'll talk about that. So when I was in high school, I happened to connect with one of my English teachers really well. I struggled with really deep depression and really deep anxiety. And out of the entire staff of 300, he was really the only one to see that something was wrong. So that always moved me as I grew up and went on. He actually happened to step into my life 5 days before my suicide date, and he didn't know it. So he effectively prevented everything just by reaching out and saying, "Hey, are you okay? You know, can I lend you a hand? I'm going to go with you on this journey." So ever since that happened, I grew up and I lived my life. And every time I continuously think about the fact that not every student has that teacher. You know, what about the kids that are falling through the cracks and they don't have that teacher who can see the red flags or see the signs because of either lack of funding, lack of training, or anything like that? So that's what really led me to that.
Wow. And this is National Parents Union, but one of the things I love about it is that parents cross so many sections. So yes, I'm a teacher,
Yeah,
but I'm also a parent. And so both of those parts of my life do come together, right?
of
And
course.
so to hear that out of a staff of 300, only one
Mm.
Yeah.
saw that my student is going through something's not right here. I
Hmm.
think that's really
Mm.
important, and we can draw from that. And that's when we were face to face, seeing each other super
Exactly.
connected, right? Because we
Yeah.
think connection is physical, like we're in close physical proximity to each
Uh-huh.
other every day. We would see when something's wrong, but from your testimony right now, that's not necessarily the case. And I can tell you from my
Hmm.
experience, I also see sometimes like, dag, I'm not connecting with this kid, or that
Yeah.
kid doesn't really have anyone, or something's changed, something's shifting. So,
Hmm.
that's so important. So, Rita, I'd like to bring you into this conversation as well.
Sure.
If the population you work with, they have mental health needs.
Uh, for sure, that's the bulk of what I do, and the people that I work for, they all have some kind of mental deficiency. Um, it can be anywhere from someone who doesn't talk,
Mm.
whether they choose not to talk, whether something tragic happened to this person and they cannot speak, whether they were born that way, to people who you have to do maybe 2 and 3 man takedowns with because they're in such a place where they can't control their emotions, they can't control their anger, they can't control, or what I noticed is a lot of time they can't express. And so that then leads into what? Anger. That's something everybody can express. And
Hmm.
so, yeah, these people, it's such a rewarding job. I love what I do. I really do. But they're just like us. I think it's crazy if you ever have the time to just look at the history of like where developmentally disabled people, like what they've gone through.
Yeah.
This is just such a strong, resilient population.
Mm.
As much as we think we know everything, developmentally disabled people are so keen on emotions, so keen on the energy of the room, so keen on so much that the everyday person just wouldn't pick up on. And like bringing it into this, that is why I know directly that COVID-19 is deeply affecting them. It's deeply affecting their minds, even their daily routine. We get up and we decide what we're going to do, where we're going to go. These individuals, they're used to routine. They're used to somebody helping them and guiding them through their day. Whereas now, an individual who might get rewarded and say, okay, today we're going to take you to the park for such excellent behavior, that's all canceled. And that's something that they had to look forward to, something simple like just going for a walk.
Wow.
And so it, to us, it may seem so minuscule, but to them, it is a huge bump in their routine and their regime. And it's greatly, it's affecting them. It's hurting them. Yeah.
And I think we all can appreciate that. And I think one of the things that COVID-19 and this coronavirus pandemic has opened my eyes to is that, listen, we're more alike than we're not, in the sense that what you explained just now there is no distinguishing marker to say that these are the feelings of a person who is developmentally delayed.
Right.
Because
Mm-hmm.
it's a different kind of intelligence. It's a humanity that I think was lacking, in all honesty, before, where it was so easy to separate people and put them in this box and that box. And it's like, oh, for example, let's put people in prison and let's, lock them up and throw away the key. And now that we are quarantined, we're not even locked up and throwing away any key. We're quarantined for a time, and it's like, oh, I can't deal with this. Oh, I can't deal with that. Oh, I have these parameters. It was like, yeah, but as a society, weren't we doing this to whole segments of people, wiping them out? So now I'm hoping that from this, like, we can come together in some type of form of unity, in the sense that, listen, I have more compassion now for a population that I really didn't know too much about. I thought I was compassionate towards them, but not so much. There's lots of room for growth. Steph, you look like you want to jump in.
No, I mean, I understand completely where she's coming from. My father, he used to work for it's called DDI. They do housing.
That's where I
and they
work.
Oh, is it really?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so funny. Yeah, my uncle's still there. My uncle's definitely still there. But I mean, I grew up, driving around with my dad, and he would take them to and from their appointments, or to the park, or to the store, or to wherever they wanted to go. So that was always one of my biggest memories with my dad, was driving around, and he would pick them up and drop them off and say hi. We'd make friends. I always thought it was so beautiful. And it's funny that you say that, because the second that everything closed, I thought of that right away. And I thought about how sad that is, that they're missing out on that, and there's nothing that we can really do to alleviate their pain. And that's like, that helpless feeling is the worst.
Yes.
And with my students, I feel that way too. Again, to show you, like, it's all the same. It doesn't matter whether you're living in a residence run by DDI, whether you're a student who's now your routine is off. The routine has been thrown off. The things that have been normal to us, that have been parts of our lives, are like out of our control. And it's real. When I speak to my students throughout the day, that is a lot of what they say, especially early on. The transition was really challenging for them. Just like, my sleep schedule's thrown off.
Yeah.
I can relate to that. For sure.
Yeah.
It's like, I want to do, also, I'm not motivated. Some of them are like, Ms. Dukes, like, I need you to help me. I can't motivate myself like that. I can relate to that. Ask me to go work out. I'm not doing it. But I'll come with you. You want to come with me to go work out? The social aspect of it. I'm like, okay, bet, I'll go work out with you. So there's definitely that nuance there. So I opened the top of the show saying, Sarita's my daughter. And so I know her. But Steph, I want to share with the viewers a little bit about how you and I met. And then I have a question for you regarding that. Or let me see.
Okay.
Maybe I'll just ask the question. I wrote it down. I came a bit more prepared this time. So you and I met doing campaign work on Long Island. And we met at a volunteer campaign opening, right? And from then we just were vibing again. And you know what that means, right? We just connected. Yeah. Right? And then was like, hey, you want to exchange numbers? And we did. And we spoke a couple times, and then all of this happened, right? Coronavirus pandemic. And so that shifted a little bit, and we hadn't spoken. And then a couple days ago, we had an experience online. All three of us were actually
all three of us.
Yes. I think about it. That really caused us to reconnect again and rekindle that initial, like, hey, I like you too.
Yeah.
So could you tell me, could you talk to me a little bit?
Yeah.
Tell the viewers a little bit about that scenario?
Sure.
Yeah.
So so this was I think it was like 2 or 3 days ago, and I was scrolling on Facebook, like always, because it's quarantine and we have nothing else to do.
Right.
And I saw that you posted about the killing of Breonna Taylor, and I saw the heartfelt paragraph that you wrote, and I totally resonated with it. And then I kept scrolling, and I just happened to see a comment. I didn't know the person personally, and it was a white woman, and she was almost trying to kind of explain the harsh reality of police brutality to you. And I watched your exchange, and everybody was cordial, everybody was nice, but she didn't seem to understand why speaking over you and your daughter, who were trying to say this is not acceptable, was unacceptable. So I just happened to jump in and remind her that not only a fact that she was using, can come from a manipulated database, it can come from a racially biased database. There's a lot of, data that supports that. And then I had to, kind of reiterate to her that, you're speaking over Black women. You came here to put your own narrative over a very painful story that you don't really have a right to. And I, as an ally, I couldn't just keep scrolling and be like, oh, they can handle it. They got it. I kind of just had to insert myself in the situation just for a second so that you guys knew you were supported. And you knew that there was someone behind you saying, I have your back. It's not you up against the world on this one. Yeah.
So who deemed you an ally? Like, how did you who made you? Who are your parents? Like, why are you like this? I'm not used to it. And I was so happy. I just have to say publicly, Sarita, you know this, but because I shared it with you, but I was so happy. I actually said before you commented, I wish one of my white friends would say something. I'm so tired. Like, I literally said it out, spoke it out loud. Like, I wish one of my white friends would come on and say something, because it's always like Black people saying something about the inhumane treatment of other Black people.
Exactly.
And I actually wasn't going to say anything. And it was Sarita who said to me, no, you need to say something, because this is why I love my youth. Y'all have that fire. Like, I'm tired. I'm just not going to engage, which there's wisdom in that too. As you get older, you learn to pick and choose your battles. But she was like, nah, mommy, you have to say something. That's reckless. So Sarita, you want to talk about your side of it? Because now we have a Latina woman. And it's interesting because you're Latina. You opened saying, I'm a 26-year-old Puerto Rican woman. You were intentional about saying that. But you present yourself, when I look at you, I would think you're a white woman. So now I have this young white woman who's going off for me. I'm like, yeah. And then I have this young Black woman, but you both were saying like similar things and joining forces. So Rita, you want to tell us about your experience with that exchange?
Sure, yeah. So originally, I hadn't even heard of, what's the young woman's name? Brianna?
Taylor's
Taylor.
So Brianna Taylor, and she's not just a hashtag, and we pay tribute to her tonight. We want to be respectful. If any of her family members, anyone associated with her knows her, please know that, and we are with you, that we feel your pain. Let me rephrase that, because I've never had my child gunned down in their house. I don't feel your pain, but on a human molecular level, my God. So please know that as we say her name, Brianna Taylor, she will not just be a hashtag. We honor her here tonight with young women. I believe she was 28 years old, if my memory serves me correctly.
I believe so.
Yes.
In their 20s who are alive and making sure that her life was not in vain. So we thank you. I would like us to just take a moment of silence, if we could. Thank you.
Yes.
Sarita, would you like to tell us about your exchange with Brianna, this conversation about the murder of Brianna Taylor?
Sure. So originally, when I had read what you wrote and just like reading the article, because I actually read the articles. So I'm like reading it, and then, I'm feeling some kind of way, especially in the position that I'm in. I'm blessed. I'm about to hit my 21st birthday. That's something, if you go to a different neighborhood not too far away, many young women my age would say, X, Y, and Z could have happened to me, or even if it didn't, this did. And I don't have that narrative, and I'm grateful for that. So originally I wasn't going to say anything. I was just scrolling, and I saw the comment. And at first, really, I wasn't really angry with this woman. It was more so I felt bad for her, because she's so misled and just really ignorant towards the reality of so many other levels. That is just like, I had to say something. I had to say something because that's my duty. That's my duty. And I feel as though, at least the type of person I am, I'm always going to be that one who's going to lead the horse to the water, and I'm going to try my best to make sure that the horse drinks. You know, I'm not just going to give up once it gets there. Mm-hmm. So at first I was like, you know, let me try to really make her understand this is not okay. You know, you can't, first of all, you're just being disrespectful, period, because you're speaking on somebody who just passed. And on that alone, it's a sensitive topic. And I just felt like there was no sensitivity. And I feel like there is this kind of just like vagueness there, where it's just like, you're just saying things. You're just putting words out into the atmosphere that you can't take back. And yeah, and that's exactly why I was like, Mom, you have to say something, because even you can explain it in a way that I just can't. So I said, you know, you come with your knowledge, and we have to, at the end of the day, I'm all for uplifting everyone. And with uplifting everyone, you have to acknowledge the differences, the struggles of every population. And really it just accept it, embrace it, and try to change for real. And so I said, with that, you know, I definitely I wanted her to, at the end of the day, at least her to feel something.
Yeah, and I love Facebook for that, because things live there, right?
Yeah.
So they take it down and censor it. They live there. I love when they remind me of stuff. I see people like, hey, I'm just posting it so Facebook will remind me of it a year from now, right?
Yes.
And so I'm happy that we did choose to. First of all, thank you both for having my back, my front, my middle, my side. Like, I felt so supported. You know, I really believe that when we come together, when we support one another, and I'm going to say specifically as women, that is very powerful. And, you know, I'd like to add, Sarita, I don't know if I may be asking an obvious question, but how did you get this way? Like, how did you get this way? that spirit you have that says, you know what, I want to speak up when I see something wrong, because clearly you both have it. Where you weren't just comfortable seeing something and not, you know, like the MTA, if you see something, say something.
Yes.
But we don't always say something. Say something.
Yes. Obviously, you know, my mother, clearly. Just being raised, when you see something, you say something. And as a little girl, I can always remember my mom just always questioning, always being just proactive about her kids in general, about their life, about what's going on every level. School, how's your mind? How's your heart? When my mom asked me, are you okay? I knew it was more than are you okay? It was, are you okay? And so that's already instilled in me, as far as speak on how you feel, and speak your truth was speak your truth before it was speak your truth. Okay? We've been speaking our truth for forever. And so that's one. Also, I was raised in a predominantly, I'd say, white neighborhood. And I was probably one of two other Black little girls in all white school. And I was fine. I carried that. But because of that, I knew that when I went to school, I wasn't really getting taught the food and that I needed for my spirit, for my mind, for my growth. And so when I went home, all that George Washington and all that, no.
George Washington Carver.
Carver, okay? All of that, all of that was like canceled. And so within that, it helped me to know my own identity. And so, you know, when I see a Black woman, a Black man, an elder, but especially my own, there's a level of respect and a level of like family that I feel. I feel connected to Black people from all walks of life.
Wow.
And so anyone who I see, our young men, our young women, gunned down, killed, I feel it personally. It is very personal to me. And so that is why anytime I see anything about anyone, I'm going to say something, because that is my sister. That was my sister. You understand? That's how deep it runs for me.
So you're what we would call a Pan-Africanist. You don't see the separations that, you just see, well, we all originated from Africa, where that's your model.
Yes, absolutely.
How did you get like this? Because, like, tell us a little bit of how you grew up and what influence. I mean, I know, but I'd like you to share what you had a particular relationship that really influenced you developing into the fine young woman that you are. Could you share that with us, please?
Sure.
Steph, not you, Serena.
I'm sorry, Steph.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Yes.
So when I was younger, I lived in like an apartment complex, and I was in first grade at the time. I also went to a very predominantly white school, and I was one of only 3 Latino children in the school. Mm-hmm. So I would tan, I would come back from vacation, they would make jokes about, like, you're from Mexico, you're from this, or from that. And it bothered me, but I didn't obviously have anybody to relate about that with. And then I had my mom gave me a big piece of chocolate cake, and trust me, this story, well, it's going somewhere. So my mom gave me a big piece of chocolate cake, and I took it out, huge piece, and I took it outside in our little complex because it was circular. And I went and I sat on my friend Greg's stoop, and his mom came out and she opened the door, and she was this very warm looking big Black woman who I honestly had never had experience interacting with people like that before. And she had opened the door and she looked down at me and she was like, "You're not gonna eat all that." And I turned around and I was like, "Yes, I am." And like, ever since I was a child and beyond, that's the story that she tells people when she says, "This is my daughter, Stephanie." When she says, this is my Rafney, my girl. But she has 4 Black boys and she had no girls. So she kind of took me into the household as their own. I did have my own parents. I had my own household where I was loved there, but the love that I was shown in this Black household was unlike anything that I'd ever felt before. It was so pure and it was so nurturing. And it like the way, Sarita, how you said your mother would say, "Are you okay?" She's asking if you're okay. I felt that because I felt like for the first time, this woman was seeing me. I wasn't just a child to be, kind of put in the corner and, seen, not heard. She taught me to better myself, because when I came into her life, I was a foul-mouthed little miscreant, and she kind of just scooped me up and she was like, "No, we're going to go to church. If you want to hang out with my son, you can't curse anymore." And right away, I was like, "Yep, okay, that's fine." And her son and I have been friends ever since, for years and years and years. So yeah, so what put me in the position of becoming an ally was when things happened in 2014 with Mike Brown, when Mike Brown was killed by Darren Wilson. When I saw that picture of Mike Brown laying in the street, I saw every single one of my brothers. I saw every single one. I saw all of the pain in their faces. I could never imagine seeing that in my mother's face. And I could never imagine. So that was really my start to activism, and what taught me that, it's our job as white people to speak up and use the privilege that we have, because we have it. It's undeniable that it's there and that we have it. And I feel like it's wasted. All the love that she had shown me my entire life would have been wasted if I didn't say something to fight for them to be treated like people, for all of you to be treated like people. It's very simple.
Wow.
Yeah.
What I'm taking away as, part of National Parents Union is really the impact that parents have on not only their own children, but any child with whom they come in contact.
Yes.
Yeah,
Like,
definitely.
we just have a responsibility as parents. We are the keepers of the children. I believe I'm not sure who to attribute the quote to. I believe it's Nelson Mandela who said, and I'm paraphrasing, the way you can take a pulse of the society when you see how they treat their children.
Yeah.
And as I think about the environment that we're in now with the coronavirus, with COVID-19, how are we treating the children? How are decisions being made for the children? I'm thinking about another show coming up, just talking about that. Like, if you have small children, what is your truth about them going back to school? Because their school is going to look differently than how you went to school, Steph, and how you went to school, Sarita, right? That's 5 years between you two. Definitely from when I went to school. And the difference from when I went to school and you two, it really wasn't that different, to be honest with you, right? When I talk with my kids about school, I mean, they grew up in the school district that I grew up in. So I know the schools that they went to. But now, just like kind of imagining, what impact will parents continue to have in the lives of not only their own children, but other children? What does, hey, I'm going over my friend's house for after school look like? Does that happen anymore? Because that not happened with your big piece of chocolate cake sitting on Greg's stoop, right? After school, would this connection have been made that now forged a lifelong friendship and really spurred you into activism? That seed was planted. That, you know what I mean? It really has me thinking about the importance of parents in not only their biological children's lives, or in the lives of the children who live in their house, in their home, but overall, and how important that connection is cross-generationally. Are we creating spaces where we can have cross-generational conversations like this in a COVID-19 society? Is that something we're going to be intentional about? What do you think about that? Either of you can just hop in. What do you think?
So I'll go first.
Yes.
So it does worry me when you put it like that, because I do think about, I think about the kids who are in, one parent households who, mom's working and you're needing help with your homework and you're trying to get in touch with your teacher on Google Meet, but she's busy with someone else. So then you have to sit and panic. Like, I think about the kids like that, and it breaks my heart.
But that was the household growing up, right?
Yeah.
I was a single mother at that time. I raised my kids as a single mother, and so they were latchkey kids to an extent. I tried to finagle my schedule while I was in school. I was going to school, single mother, everything. So I think about that. Like, what would happen? They had school all day, so it was fine. If they didn't know their homework, when I came home, perhaps I could help them with it. But that's because they had the teachers and the school and everything all day. Now what? So I was like, you're making me think. Go ahead, so sorry.
No, it's okay. And I mean, it's definitely something I'm thinking about as well, because my brother's 15, he's still in school, and my mother is between households taking care of our grandparents, and then they live an hour away. So, and my grandparents live out here in Suffolk County, so they're back and forth over and over again. And my little brother is home, not by any fault of hers, because she has responsibilities. So she had to come to me and say, Steph, I need your help. I need you to help me get his schooling together, because it's a lot. And I literally had to make a plan to wake him up every day and make a schedule for him and try to bring some normalcy and, try to help him with study materials, because now everything is digital. That's one thing that I didn't consider at all. I'm not a strong online learner. All of my notes were my huge, gigantic binder, and that was the way that I took notes, and that was it. And then when I went to visit, my brother's binder was empty. And I was just like, it's just alarming to me. So, I mean, all the parents out there, I definitely give you guys, and teachers alike, I give you guys all extra props, because this is really difficult.
Yeah. Yeah, Rita, what do you think?
I think it's not fair. Really, it's not fair. Like, that's just how I feel, because I said, imagine me at 13 years old in the 7th grade trying to like really be responsible and even get onto the computer. Okay, that's some kids can't even make it that far. And on top of that, you have the kids in the single parent household who may not be having all that, you need to do your work. They got their work to do. Yeah. Another aspect, even if a child is in a 2-parent household, some parents themselves have learning disabilities. Exactly. Some parents themselves are not equipped to help their children. So it's like, if the child doesn't get it on their own, what is there for them? Really, there for them. Whereas if they were in school, they might be being monitored and they might be able to say, okay, well, you need extra help. Let's pull you out. Let's get you in a more integrated classroom. Let's get you with some more assistance. It's not there. And already, just like, forget the school, the parents are parenting. They have to cook, they have to clean, they have to make sure their kids are safe. That is a job in and of itself. Mm-hmm. On top of that parent that's still going out and working.
So what would you say to parents who are really at their wits' end? So we're like at week 8 of this. That's 2 months home with their child. What counsel, and this is open to both of you, what counsel would you give to parents, from the young adult, the child perspective, about how to really support their child, how to help them, because this doesn't look like it's going away anytime soon.
Yeah, no.
So with that trajectory of like, okay, this is not where you're going, this is a little, snafu, and you're going back to school now. That's not the case. What would you say to parents who are really grappling with all of this and not really thriving in this environment right now of remote learning?
Sure. So if you don't mind, I'll go first.
Yes.
One thing that I try to teach my mom, because it's something that I also try to remember from my own childhood, is I try to tell her, have patience. It's not the same as him going from one period to another period to another period to another period. And I told her, it's also about the tone in which she communicates with him. At sometimes she can get angry and she can get frustrated like every other parent in the world, which is human, and that's fine. But I also think it's important to remember that like your child is also frustrated and they don't have the answers. That's why they're looking to you. Mm-hmm. So I always when I call my brother, if he misses an assignment or if he needs a lecture or something like that, I always form it in the way of a question, like, what's not working for you? Is it that you're doing all your work at once? Is it burning you out? Do you need to space it out? Like, I try to face it more like that, because I feel like when you make them feel like you're working through it with them, it's not just you telling them what to do and they have to fix it. And, now they have to produce the result after you told them how to fix it. I feel like when you make it that you guys are in this together and you're both, you're there to help instead of you're there to punish, I feel like that it gets across more.
Yeah. I would tell parents, remember to take a break. Take a break. Relax. Woosah it out. I would tell parents, make sure you're actually spending time with your kid, because your relationship with them translates into everything. Every single thing. What they tell you, their friends, and their schoolwork. So take a break. Try to just, when you're stress-free, your kids will kind of follow the tone. Wow. So if you let them know, don't worry, honey, we got it. Take a break and encourage your children. Encourage them. Notice the things that they're doing right, and constantly just positive reinforcement. You're doing great. You're doing great. You're doing great. Don't worry, we're going to get this. Have that kind of verbiage going on all the time.
Yes.
Go ahead.
And then I just wanted to add one more thing also. I mean, I feel like it's important for parents to remember, like, you don't have to spend quarantine teaching your child, yoga or, like culturing your child. Because, you go on its social media and everything looks grand and you see that, like Susan's teaching her son Mandarin during this quarantine. And it's like, I feel bad for these parents who are just trying to get their kids eat dinner, and things like that. So I feel like you don't have to put so much pressure on yourself and think, oh, I didn't study extra with my kid today, or I didn't look over their schoolwork. If your child's fed, happy, and in your arms, I feel like that's enough. That's enough.
Yeah, I really hear you both saying like more of an emphasis on their social emotional learning and not necessarily the academic prowess, if that is not something that the parent is really equipped or comfortable helping them with. And I would echo you both and add to that and say, you know what? Communicate that to the school. Communicate that to your child's teacher, because you're the parent, right? As a teacher and a parent, I'll go back to that. I respect that. I just need that communication from you. So if you're saying, Ms. Dukes, Johnny hasn't been doing the assignment that you assigned to him, but what we have been doing is some cooking, and he's been doing his measurements of cooking. We've just gotten, more bonding. He's been writing in a journal. Could he share that with you just to show you his growth and what he's been doing? I'm inclined to accept that. I'm inclined to say, well, you're just developing your child in a way that perhaps cannot be developed in school. There's we have to revamp our thinking into, well, what's truly important and what intelligences are we cultivating? Because school often just tests one type of intelligence. If you're a good test taker, you're well in school. But if you have a high emotional quotient, but that doesn't, where is there to demonstrate that in the current model of the school system? It doesn't really exist. Exactly. So I'm really grateful for the counsel that you gave. So parents out there, this is not just coming from the teacher, this is coming from young adults who really are reflecting on their childhood and their schooling and saying, wow, you're like the last of the Mohicans of that old model.
Yeah.
We're telling you it could help in this new model of what's coming around, what's here really, right? How have you both been doing? Like, what is your new normal like? How have you transitioned in this environment? Because you have freedoms. You don't have to ask your parents to go out and do stuff, right? Well, Sarita, you kind of did, but not really. You're about to be 21 years old, How is it for you now with quarantining, with stuff like, what do you do? What's going on?
Well, I'm an essential worker, so a lot of me right now is working and staying safe. Mask on, gloves on, hand sanitizer, wash your hands, everything. And I work crazy hours, especially now that there's a pandemic. A lot of people are not going to work. And I am going to work, which means I kind of have to pick up their slack or not. It's vice versa too. Sometimes you're not working as much. So right now it's really just work and then coming right home. I try to not go to the supermarket if I really don't have to. It's the mask as much as I'm out. It's kind of sad. My birthday is coming up. I'm just I'd rather, but rather safe than sorry. But I would have never thought, 21st birthday, you're gonna be inside. You're gonna be shut down. But
big like Dex.
but I'm okay. I'm in good health. All of my family is okay, and that's a lot. That's a lot to say. A lot of people are dying alone right now. Alone. So I can't complain about anything. Yes.
Yeah, so for me, the transition at first, because I'm not working. I wasn't an essential worker. So I've been home since the weekend of March 20th. And at first, I was kind of ignorantly enjoying it because I was like, okay, I really needed some mental health time off anyways. So I was like, this is nice that I get to just wake up, and I made myself a schedule, and I was doing yoga, and everything was very productive. And then weeks and weeks and weeks go on, and the schedule gets put on the back burner. I'm sleeping later. My schedule is really messed up. So I'm struggling to get back to the normal, because I feel like the more I let it get worse, the more it's just going to get out of control. So it it is very difficult for me not to see my friends. I mean, I am a very social person, but my friends and we're a very tight knit group, and I have my one best girlfriend, and we are very like conjoined. If I could sew my skin to hers, I probably would. And she is a nurse at one of the local hospitals. She's an RN. She works on the COVID floor. And for me, the worst part about the entire quarantine and the pandemic and things like that is watching the toll that it took on my friends, and knowing that I can do very little to help her at any time. You know, there was a time when it was in the very beginning of it where she called me after a shift and she was just sobbing, and it broke my heart to know that, you know, she needed to call me and get that release because that's how terrible her day was. And she had already struggled with mental health issues before then. So it's the helpless feeling that I can't drive to my friend's house and hug her and hold her and talk to her and have that FaceTime. That's what's really killing me the worst. I mean, on top of watching people lose their loved ones, and you know, I'm very privileged because I haven't lost anyone, but when I hear the stories and when I hear, you know, the mother of my friend or my coworker, or this person, you know, it's really taxing on my mental health. Definitely, I have to take a time out of the day to just be like, okay, I'm gonna watch a movie that I know everything to, so there's no surprises, and I'm just gonna get that therapeutical, just relax for like an hour, because the world is, you know, out of control right now, and there's very little that we can do to control it.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm trying to balance those two things.
Balance. That's the key, Rita.
Yeah.
How do you balance with so much work? I heard like more work than anything else. So how do you decompress? What do you do? Because the normal things that you might normally do to go out to decompress are not available anymore. Going out with friends. So what do you do now?
Well, I love movies. Naturally, I will sit and watch movies all day. No exaggeration.
Yeah.
All day. But I'll do that. I have a dog, you know, Diggy. Hey Diggy, shout out to Diggy. But
By the way, maybe he should come on for a bit. Anyway.
He's definitely great. We'll walk, or just to have like another living thing to just, you know, talk to and hug and cuddle. But really, that also I've been writing. I've been coloring. I don't know what's wrong with adults, but they need to color.
I agree.
Coloring, reading. I have this app on my phone. It gives me access to pretty much all the books in the library.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
Heavily utilizing that, taking out about 5 books at a time.
Libby, LIBBY, look it up if your public library has subscribed to it. You just enter in your library code on the back of your card and what other information, and you have access to the digital library. So many things going on. I'm so glad you brought that up, Rita, because it's a great resource. I want to share that, and I believe that's on a national level. That's just not a New York thing.
Yep.
The LIBBY. Get that app, and then you have access. I love the audiobooks on Libby personally, and really into audiobooks. Audiobooks are reading too. Tell myself.
Yes,
definitely.
Yes, absolutely. Reading.
Part of childhood, like coloring, being read to. That I don't know why when we become adults, we stop doing it. Some of us, but it was definitely nice to become reacquainted with, you know, reading like that, having books read. Wow, that's so, I really love what both of you have shared tonight. We still have like 10 minutes left in the show. I'm really grateful for everything that you've shared, how you have spoken your truth with such, wow, I'm feeling it right now. You've spoken your truth with so much courage, because to do what you've done is not easy. And I want you both to know that being able to speak up, advocate for other people, both in your life's work and in your day-to-day lives. I don't know if people tell you this enough, but definitely a round of applause.
To you.
Yeah, you too. You
too.
You.
Yeah.
Yes.
And keeping me like really invigorated when a situation was going on, because things hurt even online too. You know, it hurt. You both really helped me to stay true to myself, and having support allowed me to speak my truth. And I think that's another thing also. It's really great to say, hey, speak up, say what you got to say, speak your truth. But when you know you have another person there in any space, because you need a safe space in order to be brave.
Yeah, true.
And just to have one person to with you, like, it's okay, you're not alone, which is what you both did for me, felt really great. And it is just wonderful to have that from a family member and for all intents and purposes from a stranger. But all my humanity, it was just really wonderful. And I think it's encouraging to all of us. I hope those of you viewing will really take into consideration, how am I helping others to feel safe so that they can be brave? Because there is a measure of bravery that we will all need to enter into this new environment. Things are changing rapidly, and as humans, we're not comfortable with change. Change throws us off, like, whoa, we're creatures of habit, and there's nothing the same anymore, So, wow. Any parting words of wisdom, or this is your forum, what would you like to say to tell to the viewers? If you have any initiatives that you're working on, anything you'd like to share, feel free to do so. This is your time.
So I can go first. So one of the things, I guess my parting words will be that I've been working on, as I led with, is that I'm trying to look into the protection of mental health for students, because I mean, from my own experience, I feel like the education system, what was funny, what reminded me of it is when you said that, school has changed between all three of us, but really has it? It really, the fundamentals are still there. And I thought about that when I spoke to my English teacher again, and I told him that there's got to be something more that we could all be doing to support the mental health of our students, because all of these kids are just falling through the cracks, or they're being labeled as problem children, or the bad kid, or the bad student, which I was labeled very heavily when really I just suffered from mental illness. So I feel like one thing that I'm going to leave the conversation with is just the next time that you're talking, this is for parents specifically, the next time that you're talking about your child's peers, and there's a child that you don't particularly like or you don't particularly care for, think twice about how you speak about them, because you don't know what kind of household they're coming from. You don't know what, ailments they're dealing with. And if you're going to sit there and label them, oh, that's a bad girl, or that's a bad boy, I'm not going to let my child be friends with them, I'm not going to let my child interact with them, you're taking away a connection that other child could be blossoming with. Like, if Gregory's mom had taken a look at me, because I was foul-mouthed, I was rude, I was young, I was only 7 years old, and she could have looked at Gregory right then and there and been like, no, you're not going to be friends with that girl. But instead she said, no, you know what, we're gonna step into the situation instead. Had that not happened, I would be a completely different person today. So that's the last thing I'm going to leave the conversation with. Definitely think twice when you look at the peers of your children, and have a little bit more compassion when speaking about them.
Wow. Yeah. I really like that. Really like that. I think what I would tell everyone to leave on their mental is, if you can, when you can, get the chance to just get to know someone who has a developmental disability. Expose your children, if you're a parent, even a teacher, expose your students. There's many ways you can do this. Interact with people who are different than you, not just developmentally disabled, but just different in general. Step outside of your comfort zone and take the time to rekindle that, or to spark that up, and just talk to different people, get to know different people. If you're young and you're watching this, my advice to you is to talk to an older person and get to know and respect and love your elders, because I personally love old people. And I think you really get jewels from them. So before it's too late, find someone, talk to them, build friendships with any and everyone.
Wow.
Yeah, I agree.
Cool.
Yes.
Thank you both so much. Sarita, this has been just wonderful. You, Stephanie, just the vibe, the love. Are y'all, Facebook fam, are y'all feeling the love? Because we're in it here. You're feeling out there. Hopefully that's translating over the airwaves, but there's a lot of love in the room here tonight, and I'm so grateful for it. Thank you both so much for your time, for your insights, for being you. Know that you are a valuable member of the human family. You are a valuable member to everyone that you are around. Anyone who's around you is blessed to be around you. It's a privilege. Not everyone is like you. You have been endowed with some really beautiful gifts, and your ability to see, not just with your eyes, with your heart, and to allow your mind to grow and be transformed at such a young age, it is inspiring to me. You're literally, as the kids say, you're giving me life. You're giving me life. You really have, both of you. And it's Stephanie, I'm so happy for our new friendship. We are working together on campaigns in our local area together, because Stephanie and Sarita are both activists. So they're really into voting, voters' rights, getting involved, right? Because letting your voice, speaking your truth is not just a verbal speaking. You know, your pen is your sword, right? Those ballot type things, calls people. So you are so involved in so many things. I'd love to invite you both back on at a later time.
Absolutely.
Oh, wow. Thank you. You heard it. Producers, you heard that. So we'll you back up. It's all recorded, ladies, so don't back out on me. I just want to thank you both again, so much.
Of course.
It's just wonderful. It really has been a wonderful time.
Yes.
We have 2 minutes left, and we can just vibe however you want to. Yeah.
Yes, let's speak into the future. We should all definitely plan something. Definitely like meet up and let's do something about this. Let's do something. Yeah, that's in my brain. Let's do something.
I love that, because that's what youth bring. You see, youthfulness is always beautiful, because you're like, yeah, no, we're in a pandemic, but things will get better. That's hope.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I still have that too. Yeah.
Right? So it's like, all right, we're like this now, but there will come a day when we can meet up again. Like, let's make a plan. And that was so. I have my planner handy dandy. Here, I'm gonna go ahead and schedule something in. I was gonna pick June 7th, my birthday. I'm doing a paint night. It won't be in person. You heard it here first. So we definitely look out for your invitation.
Definitely.
Yeah.
We'll be getting some too. Keep the love. And then as things lift and we feel safe to go out by, doing our due diligence to research things and make sure we're safe. It is my sincere hope, wish, and prayer that we will meet up again.
Yes.
In person and give a big hug.
Yeah, we will.
Yeah, when's the last time I hugged my mom?
I know. I know.
Oh my gosh.
Try. Stop.
Oh.
It's hard.
It's hard.
I miss you. I love you.
Miss you. I love you. I can't wait to see you. Yeah.
Unmasked.
Unmasked is right.
Unmasked, right? But as your shirt said, you're both goats. Greatest of all.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Have a lovely night. And on that,
have a lovely night.
For
Me too.
NPU Live presents Speak Your Truth with Vivett Dukes. Thank you so much for your time. I'll see you again next time. Bye now.